Hey everyone, welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that is absolutely essential for your upcoming CMA exam, and honestly, for your entire career in corporate finance. We are going to master one of the most crucial, yet surprisingly counterintuitive, activity ratios you'll ever encounter: the cash cycle. Listen, this is a metric that can literally mean the difference between a thriving business and one that unexpectedly has to close its doors forever. To really grasp the cash cycle, we first have to ask a pretty fundamental question. Why would a highly profitable company suddenly run out of cash? Seriously, think about it for a second. A business can have record-breaking sales, massive profit margins on their income statement, and still find its bank accounts running completely dry. How is that even possible? Well, it's because making a sale doesn't instantly mean you have cash on hand. If your funds are tied up in other assets like, say, a massive warehouse full of unsold inventory or millions in unmade customer invoices, you can absolutely go bankrupt while looking wildly profitable on paper. And that brings us to the formal definition. The cash cycle is the portion of the operating cycle that is not accounted for by days purchases and accounts payable. Now, I want to pause here because this definition can feel a bit backwards at first glance. The cash cycle actually measures the time the company does not have cash. It essentially represents the gap when your funds are being held hostage by your own daily business operations. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The cash funding gap. 2. The operating cycle. 3. The role of payables. 4. Calculating the cash cycle. 5. Shorter cycles matter. And 6. Avoiding exam pitfalls. Let's dive in. Section 1. The cash funding gap. The time without cash. So, normal business operations naturally create a delay. You have to pay your suppliers for raw materials or inventory long before your final customer actually hands you the cash for the finished product. The cash cycle tracks this exact gap. I really want you to emphasize this in your notes. It tracks when your cash is trapped in the form of inventory or accounts receivable, not when it's sitting safely in your bank account. Section 2. The operating cycle, gross time tied up. To calculate this gap, we need to build out our formula. And the first major component is the operating cycle. Think of this as the gross amount of time your cash is tied up. The operating cycle is simply the amount of time that passes between acquiring inventory and actually collecting the cash from selling it. In our example here of a 41.5-day cycle, that is literally just the time inventory sits on the shelves, 17.6 days, plus the time it takes customers to pay you, which is 23.9 days. And by the way, this varies wildly by industry. Like a grocery store dealing in perishable milk and bread, they might have an operating cycle of just 2 or 3 weeks. A high-end jewelry store, on the other hand, might have an operating cycle of over a year. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the distinction. The operating cycle is the days to sell inventory plus the days to collect receivables. The cash cycle, however, is that operating cycle minus the days purchases in accounts payable. Confusing these two is a massive, highly tested trap on the CMA exam. Let me say it again. The operating cycle is the total gross time. The cash cycle is the net time after we factor in how we are actually financing that gap. Section 3. The role of payables, the financing hero. Days purchases in accounts payable measures the average number of days it takes a company to settle an invoice with its vendors. So, why does this matter so much? Because while your inventory is just sitting on the shelf, and while your customers are taking their sweet time to pay you, your suppliers are essentially floating you a short-term, interest-free loan. See, accounts payable actively reduces your cash funding gap. It acts as a shield against immediate cash outflow. Every single day you can delay paying your suppliers, assuming, of course, you aren't missing out on lucrative early payment discounts or, totally damaging your supplier relationships, is another day you don't have to use your own cash. The longer you wait to pay, the smaller your ultimate cash cycle becomes. Section 4. Calculating the cash cycle, the formula. All right, now that we have all the building blocks, we're ready to put the actual formula together. Visualizing the math chronologically like this is the absolute best way to ensure you don't make a simple arithmetic error on the exam. Step 1. Calculate your total operating cycle by adding your inventory days and receivable days. Step 2. Determine your days purchases in accounts payable. And Step 3. Subtract those payable days from the operating cycle. Operating cycle minus days purchases in accounts payable. I am emphasizing the word minus here really heavily for a reason. Because payables are a liability, candidates sometimes instinctively want to add them to the cycle. Don't do it. Payables work in your favor here. They subtract from the total time you are without cash. Section 5. Shorter cycles matter. Scenario walkthrough. Let's actually look at a real-world application to see this formula in action and understand why these numbers really matter. What's super interesting about this comparison is how the company strategically shifted its operations. They slightly improved their operating cycle, right, down to 41.5 days, but more importantly, look at their payables. They increased their payables period from 21.6 days in the prior year up to 27.7 days in the current year. As the text suggests, maybe they realized they were paying their suppliers a little too quickly in the prior year. By holding onto their cash just 6 days longer before paying vendors, look what happened to the bottom line. They drastically slashed their cash cycle down to 13.8 days. Compared to 22.7 the year before, this is a massive improvement in liquidity. And this perfectly illustrates our next core concept. A shorter cash cycle is highly favorable. Faster collections from your customers, combined with slower payments to your suppliers, means you regain your own cash much quicker. And when you have your cash back, you can immediately reinvest it into new inventory, pay down debt, or fund expansion. Basically, a short cash cycle fuels business growth, while a long one chokes it. Section 6. Avoiding exam pitfalls. What to watch out for. Okay, let me put my test prep mentor hat on for a second. Let's explicitly look at where candidates regularly lose easy points on this topic. First, as we covered earlier, confusing the operating cycle with the cash cycle. The exam will definitely give you all three variables and ask for the operating cycle, hoping you'll accidentally subtract payables. Please don't fall for it. Second, subtracting the wrong component entirely. And third, forgetting the core logic that payables reduce the gap. Always remember, your vendors are financing your operations during those payable days. Subtract them. To wrap up today, I really want to tie the cash cycle back to the broader theme of this entire study unit, earnings quality. Our source text defines earnings power as the capacity of a firm's operations to produce cash inflows, and it specifically notes that a predictably stable pattern is optimal. So ask yourself, if a company's cash cycle is wildly fluctuating from 15 days one year to 45 days the next, what does that actually tell you about the predictability and quality of their earnings? Even if their net income looks totally stable, a volatile cash cycle reveals underlying operational instability that ratio analysis is designed to expose. Keep that bigger picture in mind as you study. Master the mechanics of the cash cycle, but always remember what it's telling you about the true health of the business. Keep studying hard, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.